Bum bum. Hello and welcome to My Mom's Basement, presented by 3Chi and Barstool Sports. I am your host, Robbie Fox, or if you're watching on YouTube, The Mandalorian, along with my co-host Clem. We are here to recap Chapter 20 of The Mandalorian, The Foundling, directed by Carl Weathers. This was a short episode after last week being the longest episode of Mando ever, 58 minutes. We only got 30 minutes this week, but we spent a lot more time with the Mandalorian himself, Grogu. We even got Grogu's backstory. I loved it. Felt like we were back on the vibes that I want from this show. Clem, what did you think?
I had fun. I saw 30 minutes again as an old that has a absolutely crippled attention span due to the internet and social media. I'm like, all right, I could do this and I won't screw it up. So I was very happy. We kind of hit a lot of notes there. A lot of fun. I'm also at the point where with the last episode, the more I think about it, I'm fine if they want to use the Mandalorian where they just throw 30 minutes of Mando stuff, throw another 20 minutes of basically like another show that they would love to do, but they just want to kind of lump it in there. They know already dialing in. If it's going to be better quality than maybe some of the other Star Wars shows we have, like throw it in the Mando. And I'm still convinced that the reason we have short episodes like today and episodes like last week were only 30 minutes of Mando is because they had to fix the Book of Boba Fett and they had to throw a bunch of good Mando stuff into that season. So I'm cool with it.
It definitely could have been something like that. I do think, though, the last two episodes, there might have been better episodes in there if you made two 45-minute episodes, like you said, where you do half Mando, half the other stuff. Last week felt like it was, I don't know, 25% Mando, 75% Dr. Pershing, Dr. Kenjack. And this week felt like it was pretty much 100% Mando, but it was only 30 minutes. So you could level out those percentages some way. I do think the season is off to a good start, though. I've seen some people saying it's off to a rocky start. They don't know about it. It hasn't had as much hype behind it as the previous seasons, which is interesting. I don't know what that is either. Maybe it's because The Last of Us had so much hype and we were finishing that with the finale around the time that this came back. But I definitely don't see as many people talking about Mandalorian this season as the last, which upsets me, obviously.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. I didn't think about that. I guess we don't have as many epic moments. Maybe we'll get them in like the next few episodes before the season's over. But yeah, I guess that's a fair point. I feel like we haven't hit maybe as many highs, but I also didn't think we'd already have gotten the Mandalore. I didn't think we'd have Bo with all the crazy religious fanatics. So I feel like we're loading up the powder keg. And powder keg is one of those old history words. We know World War I was a powder keg, and Archduke Ferdinand getting his head blown off was the thing that made it explode, right, Bob?
I think it's Franz Ferdinand.
Franz Ferdinand. So, and by the way, for the people that can't see who are on the podcast, Robbie has his Mando hoodie on, and it has like a helmet on it. I had a Baby Yoda outfit that I was going to wear to Disney before we were told you cannot dress up. I think I might have to buy that now. We just do this as Mando and Baby Yoda the rest of the way here, because that is just an amazing visual.
This is the way. And I got to say, although this is the way, I can't leave it on the whole podcast. I do have to take it off. So I'm about to break the creed and I'll have to go back to the living waters of Mandalore, which what is that in our context? Is that like you got to hop in the Hudson River? Just something where you're like, oh my God, who would ever dare to do that?
You have to go upstairs in the old Milton office and you have to go in the hole where the squirrel lived. That is the dangerous thing that you have to put your life on the line for. Or no, like I guess just going up to the Milton office. It's probably I love if it was just abandoned. And then like the squirrel is the mythosaur. And you have to see
yes, I see the eye of it in the wall, and it's huge now. Like the squirrel has been eating on those wires since Barstool left. Oh shit, that would be funny. All right, to be redeemed, to get back to Mandalore status, I got to go to Milton.
The squirrel has survived on nothing but Dave's old iced coffees. That was one of the things that always stuck with me. Is Dave would always have like 6 half-drank iced coffees on his desk at any given time for every episode of the rundown. I'm like, this guy just never finishes his ice, or he probably finishes it and the ice just melts. But that's the work of a mogul right there. Always moving, never worrying about throwing away his iced coffees. So I think that is the answer to it. And the people who are relatively new to Barstool have no fucking clue what we're talking about right now.
No, they don't. It's the old office. Go watch the Barstool documentary that Dana Beers made. It's fantastic. And shout out to Dave. Happy birthday, Dave, our fellow Mandalorian Baby Yoda fan, fellow nerd at Barstool, who took us to Disney. Thank God he took us to Disney, because if you would have gone to Disney with your kids like next month, saw Star Wars Land, it came back to the podcast, told me about riding the Millennium Falcon, I might have died.
you would have just showed up at the hotel and be like, "Oh, you're here, Clem?" Like, "Yeah, bro, I've been telling you about this trip for like a year now. You didn't know I was going to be here." You're like, "Oh, well, where are we going first? I got the lightning lanes loaded up here on Genie Plus, and let's go check it out." Yeah, that would have been tough, but we got to do it. Did you see, real quick before we get into the episode, there was a guy who rode all 216 rides at all 12 Disney parks around the world in 12 days?
I saw that I read your blog on it. Insane. And I didn't understand at first, like, how that was even geographically possible. But I guess you do all of the Florida parks in one day. You do the California parks in one day. Insane. Something that, like you said in your blog, Jeff D. Lowe is crying looking at that, being like, he lived out my dream.
Yeah, Jeff D. Lowe is has to, like, he'll never admit it, but we know Jeff. We know that.
We know.
So that he did that. The first, at least, documented to do it. Put it all on Twitter. So an absolutely incredible story. And yeah, so there's gonna be a Mando. There has to be a Mando ride at some point, or some sort of a Mando thing. I feel they have to, even if it's a Star Tours like ride, part of
yeah,
like,
you could do a Star Tours edition. You could just
Yeah.
film new stuff or CGI new stuff for Star Tours. I said to you after watching this episode, especially, you might have seen in our Disney Boys video the lightsaber crafting experience at Disney. They could do that for a Mandalorian helmet tomorrow. But do you want people walking around in Mandalorian helmets in your park? You can't get the facial recognition or whatever. I don't know if they want that. Maybe you just build shoulder plates or something like that. I just looked at that and I was like, you have someone dressed as the armorer and you have them doing the voice cues or whatever, like that would be made for Disney. Also, before we get into the episode, let's remind everyone to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for subscribing, and thank you to the Conor McGregor bump for getting us over the 40,000 mark. I said at the beginning of the year, 50,000 was the goal for the end of the year, and we made a big chunk in that thanks to the Conor McGregor interview. And also, shout out Nick Hamilton, our Game of Stools friend. He gave me the heads up before I put the Conor interview out. He's like, hey, why don't you record a quick message to put right before the McGregor interview where you say, why don't you subscribe to My Mom's Basement?
Oh.
I said, Nick Hamilton, smart guy. I mean, the simplest suggestion he could have made, but one that I never would have thought of if he had not made it, you know? And I think that did help. So shout out Nick Hamilton, shout out the McGregor bump, and shout out all of the My Mom's Basement listeners, everyone that supports. I tweeted, this is a fun little nerdy corner of the basement for MMA fans, for comic book fans, for movie fans. And I appreciate everyone coming down and having fun with us.
Hell yeah, man. The Basement boys and girls, we love you all. And again, shout out Nick Hamilton. Nick Hamilton's like, I could either make like a crazy, graphic to start it all, take me 3 days, or Rob could just say subscribe. So we'll take whatever we can get from Nick. He's a goddamn genius and like one of like the hardest workers at this company full of them.
Absolutely. All right, let's get into Chapter 20, The Foundling. Like I said, this was directed by Carl Weathers, although we didn't get any Greef Karga in the episode. He took a step back from acting and just focused on the directing, and he nailed it. It was his second episode of the series that he did, I believe. We start with the Mandalorians training on the beach. Very cool scene just to see how they're all training. I was keeping an eye out to see anyone being like, and here's how you use the flamethrower. But nobody's practicing that, Clem, because I think they don't know how to.
No, Bob. So I was doing the same thing. I'm like, which one of you assholes? And they had a dueling flamethrowers. They flamed at each other. You missed
I
that?
didn't see that. I missed it.
Yeah.
I wasn't eagle-eyed enough.
You were looking in the background and it was right in front of your face. And it was like they couldn't, they did it at the same time. So you really couldn't do anything about it. And I was geeking out because I was calling it out. And then we had dueling flamethrowers. And you know what? It did absolutely no damage like the flamethrower always does in this goddamn show. And I'm also throwing this as like a little Chekhov's wrestling. Like I do feel like this fighting, we're going to see this exact scenario play out at some point. And if we do get one of those epic moments down the road.
And they were doing some real moves, like some real judo kind of arm throws. And I was thinking like the stuntmen learning these moves in Mandalorian helmets must be a trip. Like trying to keep those on, they must have them chin strapped on or something like that. But yeah, that's the issue with trying to write notes as I watched the episode. I'm sure I looked down, and as I was writing Mandalorians training on the beach, I missed 2 flamethrowers going at each other. So right after we're done with this, I'm going to go back and rewatch it. I loved Grogu also just playing with the rocks that wound up being crabs, just chilling on the beach. Reminded me so much of just a normal baby. That's what a baby does on the beach. You plop them down, they feel the sand, they're like, this is cool. They pick up a rock. Maybe they pick up a sand crab. There you go.
I've never been a big beach guy. It's just the heat, and I like swimming in the ocean or whatever. Having kids at the beach, you just put them down for 8 hours. They're pretty much safe. They're right in front of you. and they could just keep themselves occupied for hours. It is the best. And I'm sure even Mando's like, all right, I could just put this kid down and he's not going to get into too much trouble. And I think we were all thinking, is he moving these rocks with the Force right now? Right. And I'm trying to figure out because it's not really going where he's looking. However, I'm going to go, if you realize the little crabs left once he was done, I'm going to feel like he drew them in with the Force. He fucking, right? It's living thing.
I like
right?
that.
So
yeah.
The fact that they all just knew to leave once he left, that's what I'm saying. My boy's leveling up, and we don't even see it. And the hermit, like I call them the hermit crabs. Were you a hermit? Did you have hermit crab? Was that one of your pets growing up?
I did. If you grew up on the Jersey Shore boardwalk, you pretty much have to have a hermit crab at least one summer. And I had one with it was black shell Batman logo painted on it, kind of just the yellow classic Batman logo. And we took them to a hermit crab race, and my hermit crab raced once.
Oh
I
my
think I
God.
won the first race and lost the second and, didn't move on in the tournament. But yeah, hermit crabs on the Jersey Shore, such a staple.
That is the most Jersey Shore thing is that you took a living creature, painted a Batman symbol on, and they sold it to you. And then you raced the fucking thing, probably for money. There was probably someone betting money on it along the way. That was like I want to say third grade. Everyone in the class got a hermit crab and everyone like brings it home. And I still remember you'd always put the extra shells in because when they leave shells, that was like the coolest thing, how they would change their homes. And I fucking hated my hermit crab because he never changed his shell. I'm like, go to your home, go to a bigger home. What are you doing, man? It made me so angry. So
mine never did either. It's funny you say that. Mine never changed the shell. And we had an extra one in there. They tell you, you have to because it's just going to crawl out one day. Never fucking did.
Yep, never. Well, I mean, he had a fucking Batman shell. He's like, I've already like. You'd be like, oh, you're not a member of the Fox family anymore. You're not a Batman fan. He just flushed you down the toilet.
Yeah, he was in the Batmobile, crawling around in his racing thing. Mando picks Grogu up though. He's like, all right, I'm not content with you just sitting here on the beach having fun with these crabs. It's time to train. And he actually says the words like, if you want to be a Mandalorian someday. And I'm like, oh. So he is going to be a Mandalorian someday. He's a foundling now. He's going to turn into, people say, is he the Mandalorian? Is this whole show about Grogu? And that's who they're talking about as the Mandalorian. Possibly. He's the first Force user to be in the Mandalorian clan, whereas Tar Vizsla, the original Mandalorian, was the first Mandalorian to be accepted into the Jedi Order. Beautiful symmetry there. It's kind of like poetry, Clem. It rhymes. So he picks him up. He says it's time to train, and he puts him against Ragnar Vizsla, who I didn't realize at this point in the episode, but it's actually Paz Vizsla's son, the big, bulky Jon Favreau Mandalorian. It's his son. So he says, you pick the style of combat, and they're like, this fucking little baby's going to battle? And he's like, no, I'm his ward. I allow this to happen. So he's like, all right, dart battle. Let's do some darts. And I'm like, are we doing like whistling birds darts? What kind of darts are we whistling birds darts? What kind of darts are we talking about, And it's kind of wrist gauntlets for sure. Wrist gauntlet darts, but kind of paintball essentially is what it looked like. Do you agree?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I said paintball darts is what it ended up being. After I'm thinking lawn darts. What are we fucking doing with darts here? Like pub darts? We're throwing like sharp things at my little sweet baby.
That's what I thought too. I was like, you throwing sharp thing? Are you allowing the kids to throw sharp darts at each other? But no, it's paintball essentially. They put a gauntlet on Grogu, and I guess this is just going to have to be something we get over in the Star Wars universe with Grogu in our lives. But with the handcuffs and now with the gauntlet, I'm like, who was that gauntlet built for originally? Why did you have one the size of a baby's arm?
Yeah, because let's be honest here. If like there's like you need to be able to say the creed to fight or whatever, or I guess to have the helmet on, like there would only be a baby. Unless you're going to have a creature the size of Baby Yoda that could be that small, yet be older than a fucking infant. It just wouldn't happen. So again, just have to accept it. We're in a galaxy far, far away. Weird shit happens. There's a million other things that are even less likely to be real. So I guess we're just going to have to live with it.
Just got to live with it. They put the gauntlet on and he gets hit with the first two shots. He's just like standing there clueless. And Mando tells him, like, I've seen what you could do. Show him. It's fine. You could let it fly. Jumps over him a couple of times. Reminds me of Yoda in Attack of the Clones. Hits him with 3 shots right in a row. And I'm like, oh my God, Ragnar was the worst combatant ever if he didn't know you could rapid fire shots. I mean, Grogu was just standing there for him. I thought it was you have to go one at a time. No, Grogu hit him with 3 in a row and it was game over.
When he hit him with the 2, I was like, that's 2 out of 3, right? That's why we loaded up 3 darts, and it's like this game's already over. And then he hits him with the bum bum bum. Yeah, just terrible. It was almost like when Mando was talking to Baby Yo and was like, show him what you're doing. You're gonna understand this reference now, Bob. It was almost like my guy Barry Manilow going bong, release the fury, Mitch. Release the fury! Like, he's like, release the fury, baby. Yo, I know you got this in you. And I love seeing my guy fight. I was absolutely terrified, like a parent watching their kid, like at Little League or something. However, all right, I'm going to say this to you, and I'm going to say it to all the listeners. I know we're all fucking Mando fans, and we're all, especially Baby Yoda fans. The jumping looks silly. It looks silly.
But I go back and forth on this.
They've done it. They did it with Pelimoto, and they did it this time. And if he's going to be jumping like this in legit fights, they have to make it stop looking so goddamn silly. I know Yoda did it. CGI Yoda did it. They're just throwing a fucking Muppet in the air right now. And it looks, I'm sorry, Bob, it looks silly. I love the guy. It looks silly.
It looks silly, but I think they're making a conscious choice to make it look silly. I think they could do a CGI flip if they wanted to. Like, I think that's within the budget and realm of possibility in the show. Look at the pterodactyl fucking monster we're about to get to. I think they want this to look so much like a puppet that even in the CG scenes, they're like, make this look way more practical, make it look like a puppet. So I go back and forth because I'm like, did it look a little silly? Yeah, but that silliness has a warmth about it that just makes me feel all nice inside, where I'm like, Star Wars is practical effects.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I mean, I think that's the charm of a lot of the stuff, especially in the original trilogies, when that's all they fucking had for the most part, right?
Yeah.
But if like there's a monster moment and then just like I see the guy's hand coming frame, he just throws a little Baby Yoda in the air. I'm like, I'm with you on it. It does feel a little bit like, you know, the Battle of Winterfell was meant to be dark. You know,
yeah.
So but I will ride with you guys. I'm not looking to start a fight. I already had all the World Baseball Classic crazies coming at me all week. I'm ready to rock with you guys. Let's fucking go. Just make it like, if there's a big moment, just make it look a little less silly. That's all I'm asking. Again, it's cute when he's just fucking flying around. Big moment, he fucking, you know, takes down the Mythosaur. I'm gonna be like,
fair enough. Yeah, make it look a little better for a big moment like that, a Rancor moment.
Look at that. The basement, we're coming together. We're acknowledging our differences. We had the Lego stuff. We had the Reese's stuff. We're finally finding a middle ground and fucking singing Kumbaya together.
Exactly. So Ragnar, this kid, he's defeated. He's just like kicking dirt, kicking rocks, and he gets picked up by a pterodactyl monster. This kid has the worst luck of all time. Last week, he's trying to get baptized, or not last week, but, you know, last week in the Mandalorian universe, he tries to get baptized in the water. This big crocodile attacks him. This week, he gets defeated by a baby. Everyone laughs at him, and they're like, oh my God, I didn't even know that baby could fight. And then he gets picked up by a pterodactyl. So this kid, I do feel bad for him. I liked the line where someone says, like, did you teach that kid that? And Mando's like, I didn't fucking teach him. Talking about Luke teaching him for the 17 years that he was with Luke or whatever the fuck Favreau said. And he just gets picked up by this giant pterodactyl. They say, don't fire because, you know, it'll kill the kid. So they follow him on jetpacks, but they don't have enough fuel to keep going. And then we see Bo-Katan was tailing the whole time, and they get a very, Apocalypse Now shot of like the ships coming in against the sun, but going out. It was a very cool shot to send us into the Mando title card.
Yeah, I have to admit it. That kid was kind of a punk when he's kind of like this fucking baby over here. And I didn't like him off the jump. I kind of would have loved it if, going back to the hermit crab stuff, Baby Yoda summoned the dragon. It was like, snatch this motherfucker. Using the Force, he's going, do. And he's bringing the dragon down to snatch this fucking punk, bring him back to your nest. So that's what I was kind of hoping for. Or, I forgot that he did have at his baptism this giant fucking creature come out, this giant alligator thing. In the words of our friend Kathleen, I believe, in The Last of Us, like, his story is basically written. This guy is supposed to get murdered by a creature on your home planet. Maybe it's just meant to be, let the fucking pterodactyls eat him, or we're going to get another creature that's going to come for his ass. So at some point, I think the kid, I don't want to say the kid deserved to die, but I could understand the people that might say that. That's all I'm going to say.
And one of the Mandalorians at this point said, they always get away. Oh, it always gets away like that. Why do you guys live here? What are you doing staying there if this is a constant issue? You got the pterodactyls in the sky. You got the crocodiles in the water. What are you doing living in this one? Is that why the covert's so hidden? Because like nobody would dare to come to this crazy area? I don't know.
That's actually a fair point. I didn't think about that. Maybe, you know, they are like religious fanatics. They're like, the Lord wills it to be this way. It's like, no, you motherfuckers. The food chain wills it to be this way. And you guys should be higher on the food chain because you have the technology to go as ever high as you want. And like, the fucking brains to be like, don't go near the water because there's giant alligators that live there. Watch out for the skies because there's pterodactyls coming down. So yeah, that is actually a very fair point, Bob. I understand they kind of are up, like they're between the rock and a hard place. They lost their home planet, but there's other places to live outside of just this. This can't be the only cave in the fucking planet, right?
No, it can't be. Absolutely can't be. So Bo, Paz, and Din head out with a big crew of Mandalorians on Bo's ship, while Grogu stays behind with the armor. And she starts forging a new piece for Grogu, and we eventually get a flashback during this. When I saw Bo with Paz, with Din Djarin, I'm flashing back to the Book of Boba Fett right away. Are we forgetting that Paz was such an asshole too, and like challenged Din Djarin to a duel, and they fought over the Darksaber and all of that? He stepped out on the walkway, on the catwalk, and spaced and was in the background and everything. Like, I get that. Listen, they're gonna have their differences, and they're gonna have to be part of the same creed, and that's a thing. Paz just, I don't know, him being friendly with, not friendly, but him just acting like that wasn't a thing the whole episode rubbed me the wrong way a little bit. Once, much like Bo, I'm like, I don't forget the history behind these guys.
Hand up, I did forget about it. Like you said, there's a lot of like. First of all, like you said, we haven't even. This was our first year doing Mando on YouTube, so it's been a long time since Mando season 2. Then we had Mando just randomly in Book of Boba Fett. I don't remember what happened in that. What happened in the Mando seasons? I don't remember like what season 1, what season 2. I just remember a lot of shit going down. Do you want me to throw him on the sus list, Bob? Because I'll throw him on the sus list. No fucking problem.
Just do me a favor and throw him on the sus list. Just for this week, let's throw him on the sus list.
Okay, because we'll look good if it comes in. And if it doesn't, it's like it's fine. It's like we just had him in the as Big Cat always says, the tickler file. He's in the tickler file now. You might be sus, motherfucker.
And he had what I would call like a Peter Quill moment this week, where it's like he just sent the game plan astray. When everyone was like, "Hey, we're focused on doing this right now," he was like, "Leroy Jenkins," you know. So let's get to the flashback here. As the armor is making something new for Grogu, she says it's kind of a tradition for you to give back to the Foundlings whatever you find. So she starts crafting something new. Grogu flashes back to Order 66 night. We finally get the scene that we saw in the trailer of Jedis maybe saving him, escorting him through the Jedi temple. And the Jedi say, get him to Kelleran Beq. We need to get him to Kelleran. Get him to Kelleran. Get him into an elevator. The doors open, and Kelleran Beq is standing there. Clem, I said to you earlier, do you know who that actor was? And you said, no, I was going to ask you that. And I said, all right, do your best to avoid that until we record, because I think it would be a funny reveal on the podcast. Do you know who this is, or are you still unspoiled?
No, like, so Kelleran Beq, is he in any of the other stuff? Is he in like the Clone Wars? Is he in like the cartoon? Like, I don't know anything about the Jedi. I don't know anything, I definitely don't know anything about the actor. Am I supposed to know Kelleran Beq? Am I supposed to know the actor? I don't know.
I don't think you're supposed to necessarily know him. Kelleran Beq is from like a Jedi Temple kids game show that they're doing. Now
Kids
the actor, yeah, it's a kids game show that they do. It's like a Legends of the Hidden Temple thing, I think, that they do on
pretty
Disney
fucking
Plus.
fun.
Now, Ahmed Best is the actor playing Kelleran Beq. Ahmed Best, known most by his role as Jar Jar Binks in The Phantom Menace. They gave Jar Jar a live action role. This guy has gone through hell and back with Star Wars fans. 4 years ago, he came out, spoke about wanting to commit suicide due to the horrible backlash and vitriol that was sent his way. And Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau said, let's redeem that guy. Let's turn him around and have him be Grogu's savior on the night of Order 66. Made him a badass Jedi, Kelleran Beq. He saves Grogu. He gets out. They have an awesome space like chase scene through Coruscant, which is becoming the new Tatooine, which is the new planet we go back to every week, which I'm fine with. Coruscant's like a fun planet, a lot of different stuff, a lot of different visuals. They have that like almost Subway-esque scene where he goes through the train tracks, dips out into the station, and then they get on a Naboo Star Cruiser and go away. He's like, we got to meet up with some friends. There's a chance one of Jar Jar's friends is Jar Jar, Clem.
I can't believe we got the redemption of the actor that plays Jar Jar Binks. I had no clue. I know that I knew as soon as you said I'm the best. I'm like, I know that name. So now it makes perfect sense. I will say this, Robbie, and you have to agree. The moves that Ahmed Best was pulling off were exactly what you'd look for someone that was cast to have force abilities. True or false?
True. And listen, when I saw this, I was like, all right, you know me, I don't buy into the Darth Jar Jar theory. But again, if it's a meter that's going like this, the meter started making movement. And I was like, okay, it's not a zero chance possibility. There's more than zero chance.
If George Lucas wanted to find a guy who'd just be a bumbling idiot and be so stupid and falling over himself, he could have found basically everyone who works at Barstool to do that kind of a job, right? He needed to find someone who could do that, but then also fucking take down like a dozen clone troopers or whatever the hell they're called and fucking become a real goddamn hero, or in Darth Jar Jar's case, a bad motherfucker, I imagine. So I'm telling you, the Darth Jar Jar theory is growing right now. And
it's alive.
It's alive. Oh, this just made me so goddamn. I can't even put into words how happy I am. I did not see that coming. When you asked if I knew who the actor was, I'm like, I have no fucking clue.
And I tried to like phrase it the right way on text. I was like, I can't wait to tell you what you know him from, because I was like, I don't want Clem to be like, is he from Star Wars? Should I know him? I just wanted to reveal to you that, yeah, Darth Jar Jar, basically the theory is alive because Kelleran Beq now is a Jedi who I was surprised survived. Like he made it out with Grogu. So it's like, oh, wow. Where did that story go from there? Did he send Grogu to Naboo? And did they go back to Naboo just because the starfighters from there? I don't know. And eventually he gets in the hands of the Empire because that's where the show begins and everything. I don't know if he was with the Empire or just the warlords, but very, very interesting. It was cool hearing Tamora Morrison voicing the clones. It was awesome just hearing like, get him. And I was like, oh, that's fucking Tamora. Cool. Did you like the scene in general as someone who like didn't know Ahmed Best, Kelleran Beq, anything like that? Were you cool with, okay, that's Grogu's backstory?
Yeah, whenever I see anything from basically the prequels era, I'm like, there's probably a lot of references I'm missing out on because I didn't watch the cartoon. So I'm always like, these fucking guys probably know every single Jedi that's here right now. And again, I was thinking that with that. Also, my sweet baby, yo, can you put the fucking lid on for once when there's like,
I know.
Like, come on, dude. And I'm like, oh, wait, maybe he doesn't have the lid. And then he had the lid on when there was no one shooting at him. I'm like, that's not when you put the lid on, sweet baby. It's when there's fucking a bunch of clone troopers trying to murder your ass. So that just like drove me nuts. I'm like, oh, don't hurt him, knowing that he survives, obviously. Also,
he even looked more like a baby, too. Did you pick up on that? Like his face was a little younger.
Yup, his face is a little younger. I don't know if he has any hair, and if he does, it's just a very little bit where, like, he looks kind of like old baby Yo now. When you go back and they keep saying, oh, you're just a baby. I'm like, yo, this motherfucker is older than everyone here, and nobody realizes it because of his size. And that's my question. Like, did being, like, in his little ball and hiding, did that, like, fuck up his, like, stunt his growth or his aging? I guess Yoda ages very slowly, right? Because he's 900 at the end when we meet him in Empire and Return of the Jedi. So I was thinking the same thing. Would you say I think he might be cuter in the Order 66 time, which is crazy to say.
I mean, he's a baby, you know, he's a true baby.
Yeah, he's a true baby back then. And also, I had to shout out the crew for that ship. That's like, get on, it's fully, loaded. The hyperdrive actually works. It's one of the 6 ships that hasn't had its hyperdrive destroyed. Those guys, they just fucking, they knew they were basically fighting to the death. They fucking saved 2 Jedis along the way, or at least a Padawan. I don't know what you want to consider the Foundling at that point. And I also loved the hint of a TIE fighter in the 2 ships that were chasing them before they hit hyperspace. Because again, I love seeing like the evolution of all the different ships based on, both sides in the war. So I thought that was very cool.
That was awesome. And speaking of awesome, let's tell the people about HelloFresh, one of our favorite sponsors. They make mealtime easy with delicious recipes made with fresh, wholesome ingredients delivered straight to your door. No lines, no hassle, just great tasting meals you can whip up and enjoy in the comfort of your own home or covert. If you're a Mandalorian covert, you could order this straight to the cave entrance. HelloFresh will deliver it there. You just got to make sure you get it in quick before any of the monsters get it. With the cost of groceries going up and up, now is the perfect time to get started with HelloFresh. It's cheaper than grocery shopping and 25% less expensive than takeout, which is a huge, huge percentage. That adds up very quickly. HelloFresh has 40 weekly recipes to choose from for all meal occasions, lifestyles, and preferences. They've got the mushroom and chive risotto, the soy glazed salmon with rice, such good stuff. The cheesy chicken, official meal of the basement, as we say all the time. And they make it easy to eat what you love. You can customize select meals by swapping proteins or sides, or even adding a protein to a veggie dish. And now you can even upgrade for organic chicken or organic ground beef on select meals. We say every week, you put organic in front of anything, it sounds healthier, it tastes better. You're like, this is just organic. I'm gonna start saying that about food. It tastes organic to me. Maybe people will think I'm like the Ratatouille food critic if I start throwing words around like that.
And I'll tell you, my reaction to the sound of that risotto was as organic as it got, because I went, that was just straight up from the gut right there, man. I'm a little hungry right now. I go get if I have myself some HelloFresh, just whip it up and have me some risotto. Oh, that sounds delightful.
I'm gonna get some HelloFresh right after this. Yeah. Ooh, so good. Go to HelloFresh.com/Fox60, FOX60, and use that same promo code Fox60 for 60% off plus free shipping. That's code Fox60 at HelloFresh.com/Fox60. It's an awesome deal, making me hungry just talking about it. I swear I'm going to, right after this, go make myself a quick HelloFresh meal, edit this podcast, get it out for everyone to listen to. So the armor gives Grogu a new chest plate. And when she put it on, I actually forgot for a second that he has already chainmail under the Grogu outfit. It was cute how she like unzipped him, put the little circle thing on there. And I was like, all right, this guy's just going to be covered eventually. Thankfully, he's got the Force, so it's not going to be too heavy on him. But he's just going to be like weighed down. He's going to be like the kid from A Christmas Story before he goes out. He's like, I can't move my arms.
Yes, that's so incredible where he just keeps. We have a video of Sienna when she's a baby, and she gets up and then she falls over and she can't get up, and we're just cracking up, and she's like, ah!
It's gonna be him with Beskar soon.
Yeah, it's gonna be my sweet baby. Yo, you have like the most unbreakable fucking armor in the galaxy, and this little guy who can't get up. They fucking gave him like a rap chain. It was like a Rockefeller chain. I was like, my guy made it to death row. I was so proud of him.
It looked good though. Looked good, and he'll be, I'm sure, at some point shot in the chest this season, like Doc Brown, and then it'll be like, look at the Beskar saved him.
Wow, Bob Fox, great fucking call right there. I didn't even think
references
about that.
From left and right this week. I just got them in the brain. It's all neurons are firing. I'm not noodly anymore from the Disney trip. I'm finally recovered. You know.
Yeah, you're eating that HelloFresh. The organic food's going to your brain. We're getting some fuel here. This is perfect.
Exactly. So the Mandos go off after the pterodactyl monster. That's what I'm going to call it. It was basically a pterodactyl. And they have to rappel up the mountains because they don't want to wake it up, which is an issue. The jetpacks and everything, basically everything they have is loud and noisy with their Clang and Beskar armor. So they have to go free solo this shit. Not free solo because they get the rappels, but they're not like the Batman rappels. It's not like you could hit it at the top of the mountain and then just elevator yourself up. It's like elevator it up and then keep climbing and then do another one and then keep climbing. It looked like it would be a lot.
Yeah, I didn't know if this was spelunking. I was like, is this?
Oh, this kind of is spelunking. I think this is spelunking.
This is, oh boy, I imagine there is spelunking fans, and I imagine they come over the top at you if you don't get it. Like, I would never go in spelunking Twitter, because if I called spelunking the wrong thing, I guarantee it's worse than steak Twitter and all those.
God. Imagine spelunking Reddit.
Oh, spelunking. So I loved that we finally got an answer to what they do with the helmets when they're eating, when they're showering,
yeah,
when they're making
I like
babies.
That too.
I like that. It's like, you just go to your own room. It's like, okay, I thought that made sense. And it's honor system, as we know. Mm-hmm. And my guy Mando is as honorable as a guy. It's like, yeah, I did it a couple times. And these religious fanatics may not be so bad because they were nice enough to let Bo stay by the fire. I thought that was a very nice move. And I think I'm kind of falling in love with these. This is how you actually end up joining a cult. Now that I say that, I'm like, I'm going to throw my hat in the ring. Maybe if they could find me a mask, I could kind of get down to it. I like saying this is the way. That could be cool. And I also thought about how our girl Bo was ducking you at HQ this week.
She did duck me at HQ. That was crazy. I tweeted that they kept me out of the office like Dante and Lightfoot because I had no idea that Bo-Katan was in the office, the actress that played her. But to be fair, I could have just gone to the office that day and seen her there. But I had no idea she would be in. They said she was a great interview. So look out for that on Lights, Camera, Barstool if it's not out already. I don't know if they put it out.
Jeff's like, we have enough confrontation right now, Barstool. We don't need Robbie yelling at the actress that plays Bo.
Imagine that she did to security Mike has to drag me out. I'm like, you're a hypocrite. You're a hypocrite, Bo. I know what you did. That was funny though, and I also liked them going their separate ways. And like you said, they're being like, you have the honor of staying by the fire. It feels like when Pup Punk pulls over on a road trip It's like, all right, the girl, Caroline, whoever's with the group, one of our girlfriends, you get to use the bathroom. We're all going to go our separate ways and pee in these bushes over here, which is
Yes.
what happens. Getting the answer to that, just seeing how the Mandalorians take their helmet off to eat. We kind of saw Mando do it in season 1, but I remember being like, was he allowed to do that? Or was he just doing that because nobody else was around? No, it's understood. Like, we have to fucking eat. We have to shower, whatever.
If it's hot, if you're in Tatooine, you gotta like fucking just wipe the brow a few times, right? I don't know if they're air conditioned in there, so I wonder.
Unless they're the mean girl Mandalorians, and then they're like, we took a vow not to wash our hands or our helmets. You know, hey,
I'm not looking
wrapping
for that
it all
smoke.
around.
I'm not looking for that smoke. Wait, is Star Wars real?
I think it is.
It is.
It's not methodical.
It's not methodical. Wait, so Baby Yoda is a real living thing, huh? I thought it was.
He's real. He exists. He's been walking around for 50 years. He's older than you and I.
So they say this happened a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Did someone find like DVDs of everything, and that's how we're watching these stories, and people were just filming it?
Don't be ridiculous. It was hard drives, not DVDs, because they don't have DVD players in a galaxy far, far away. So we just transferred the footage on the hard drives. Now we have the documentaries coming out weekly. It's amazing.
Okay, clip that. That's going to be our thing. We're going to go viral. People,
that was our attempt at a Mean Girls clip. If people are like, "What the fuck just happened? Like, did you guys just have 2 strokes on the podcast?" So they all rappel up this mountain. As I said, Paz Vizsla kind of messes things up when he doesn't see his kid in the nest, but Mando picks up a heat signature. He's like, I think I see a heat signature over there. He just runs over there. He alerts the babies, who look just like baby birds blown up and everything. I rescued a baby bird once. I know we're a bird-friendly podcast. Saw a baby bird on him walk home from school, picked it up, put it back in a nest in a bush. I don't know if I gave it to its real mom, but I gave it to somebody's mom. So shout out to baby birds. They have this huge battle scene. The mama bird comes out. She kind of spits up the kid, Ragnar or whatever, flies around with him for a while. They all attack it. The kid falls. Mando saves him. And then the pterodactyl goes down. Reminded me of Jurassic World when one of those big pterodactyls comes out. And then that giant crocodile type monster comes up, eats it out of there. Kind of a reference to the Phantom Menace, possibly. Me and Kenjack were talking about this with there's always a bigger fish.
I put that in the notes, Bob. Always a bigger fish. And then when I get prequel things, I kind of get a little chill down my spine. But I was on the same page. And like straight out of Jurassic, like the Megasaurus or the fuck it's called, when it comes out and chows down on the other.
Which is a good scene in that movie. I like that scene. It's unnecessarily mean to that assistant in the movie who's like gets picked up and dropped 1,000 times and then eaten by 2 different dinosaurs. She didn't really do anything bad to deserve that, but every time I watch it, I'm like, holy shit.
Yes. But that entire fight scene was, I loved how the old Mando helmet's in the nest. So you're like, yep, this has happened before because these guys are so fucking stupid. And like you said, what's the name? Paz Vizsla?
Yeah.
Just an all-time idiot fucking moment. I just started laughing my ass when he flies right into the asshole's mouth. And that was our Star-Lord moment, right? Where he kind of just fucks everything up. It's hilarious. And it's like, well, he was going after his kid. I have 2 kids and I fucking love him. I die for him. I wouldn't fly into the mouth of a monster because then they don't have a fucking dad. So it's like, what are we doing here? What a goddamn asshole. And when Mando, they did it again when he saves the day and the fucking Mando sound, it is ringing so hard these days. So hard.
It is. So they bring back the babies, which I thought was an interesting move. They were like, here's some babies we got for you, a couple more foundlings. I'm like, the fuck are we going to do with those babies? You got to raise those babies. How much milk do you have to get to feed those, or more food do you have to get to feed the babies?
That's what I said. Look, all right. There's a little bit of crossover here, and I know Star Wars fans might just be Star Wars. We're nerd guys. I can tell you from Game of Thrones, feeding a dragon will bankrupt your ass. Feeding 3 dragons as they grow up will like murder your species basically, because they're also gonna probably start eating you guys once they get big enough. That felt like a hokey joke at the end of a cartoon, like we have 3 more. Which they should have done if Bo's like, hey guys, we got 3 more mouths to feed and to teach the ways. And then she blowtorched him and goes, dinner for the next month on Bo-Katan. Y'all are welcome. And we're going to leave one of the bodies out there. So then any other pterodactyls are going to see these guys don't fuck around. They kill the babies too. That's what you should do. Instead, they're going to feed these things. And listen, I know there's a chance that at the end of the season, they're going to be riding these fucking things. I feel like that is a potential thing. But if that doesn't happen, it's just the dumbest thing of all time. Isn't I'm 1,000% with you, Bob.
That's the thing. It's March 22nd, 2023, and this is a dumb fucking move. But on March 22nd, 2024, you might be sitting here with old takes exposed on our asses when the Mandalorians are riding into Mandalore on fucking pterodactyl dragons, and we're like, yeah! You know, they're going to name all three. We're going to become attached to them like the Dragons and Thrones, like you said. And yeah, I see this is a big trust the process show.
I kind of like where you're going with this too. I could see a note from a Disney Plus suit who I've learned to not trust. That's been beaten to our brains by is it Billy Walsh, Billy Mitchell? Which
Bob
one is
Iger?
it? No, the one from Entourage.
Oh, Billy Walsh.
Billy Walsh, right? Billy Mitchell's my Pac-Man guy.
Yeah.
Don't trust the suits. Couldn't you see a note from Disney Plus being like, listen, Dragons play. These fuckers at HBO are eating our lunch every Sunday night when Dragons is back. Game of Thrones is coming. Let's get some dragons in the Mandalorian. You can do that. And Filoni and Favreau are like, all right, whatever, we'll do it. So I could see that being a thing, and we could be old takes exposed in the future. But I don't. These guys are on the sus list. These three fucking dragons are like at the top of the sus list. Eat them, send them as a message to the other fucking pterodactyls on the island, all the creatures on the island. We kill fucking anybody. We killed the mama, we're killing the babies, we're killing everybody. Don't fuck with the Mandos. That's what it should be. And these guys are just marching around kumbaya. This fucking kumbaya Star Wars land, man. I remember when Star Wars, we kill these fucking things. I'm like an old man yelling at a cloud, but I just don't like it. I feel like, and it's not even like a storyline thing. I just feel like there's so much bad that could come out of this. It could have. What if they pooped in her fucking ship too? You just got a big old pile of dragon shit in your spaceship. That shit doesn't come out easily. What are we doing here, Bo-Katan? So I personally don't like it, but I could see this being a note given to Favreau and Filoni saying, "Hey, let's get some dragons in the show." So that's all I'm gonna say. And listen, these guys right here, lovebirds, big bird guys. These guys are basically giant Star Wars birds. That being said, I still would have killed these motherfuckers. Bob saved a bird, and he still would have killed these guys, right?
I think I would have. Now I'm convincing myself more and more that maybe this is a good opportunity where it could be like the way they finally use the fire is Paz Vizsla could crawl into the mouth.
Oh,
into the mouth of one of them, right?
Yes.
And then Clem, like this. Ready? He goes. You got to be watching on YouTube for what I just did there, but I crawled out of the mouth of the pterodactyl and I used the flamethrower then.
You have sold me. Yeah, I love dragons that much. You have sold me that there is, and I love the goddamn blowtorch and hate that they never use it right. This could be the thing that finally makes it all come together. So I'm sold. There's also a chance we just never see the pterodactyls again, and it was just meant as like a quick little funny thing at the end of the episode. But people who are listening are like, guys, enough with the baby pterodactyl.
I know, yeah.
It just felt very weird. My exact words were, "Burn those baby dragons alive!" Exclamation point. You had the fucking blowtorch. They're in the nest. That's basically tinder at that point. You just light them up. You fucking go about your way, or you leave them. You fucking put their heads on a spike and let all the other creatures on that planet know the people in the cave are not to be trifled with one bit.
So they go back to the cave because Bo lost a shoulder plate in the battle. The armor's like, "Oh, yeah, I see you lost a shoulder plate. Let's go back. Let's make you a new one." And when she decides what animal she wants on it, like he's got the mudhorn or whatever, she says, "Can I put the Mythosaur on that?" And she's like, "Yeah, the Mythosaurs are fucking Jesus on the cross. Everyone could have that.
Place for everybody." Yeah.
Yeah. And she says, "All right, put that one on there." She said, "What would I tell you what would you say to me if I told you I saw a Mythosaur?" She's like, "Yeah, you see many things when you join the cult, you see a bunch of visions like that." She's like, No, I saw a real one in the mines of Mandalore." She's like, "I'm sure you did. That's very cute." She doesn't realize at this point that the Mythosaur is a factosaur, and Bo is going to have to prove that. Bo almost seems like she might become obsessed with the Mythosaur, maybe more so than the Darksaber. I could see that being her thing now. Mando's got the Darksaber, and she's like, "I want to train that Mythosaur. I want to conquer and ride that Mythosaur somehow." I don't know.
Yeah. The whole thing where she's like, "This is the way." Like, I don't know if she ever is going to believe that she saw that fucking. And the armorer is like, the queen bee of the religion game, right? I feel
Yeah.
like the armor is the head honcho of this shit. So I feel like it's going to take like the Mythosaur being like, I saw, like, no, we know each other. We're on for like Bo-Katan. She turns on. It's like when you turn on the Wi-Fi and it already connects to someone's house. Like she's like, no, we're good with each other. So I did find it kind of weird that she was just dismissed right away. But I don't know, man. I feel I have much better vibes between the hardcore Mando people and Bo than I thought we would. I thought it was going to be fish out of water and a lot of stuff like that. I'm pretty happy with the way it's all. And I loved the old X clap they were doing. They were banging their like arms. I always pick Xavier to go to the Sweet 16 in my college basketball brackets because I love throwing up the X and I go X.
It's
so
like
I love
DX
it.
too.
Yeah, it's a little DX as well. I mean, again, you have X in your name. It's just fucking awesome. So I like that, and I like the way we're going, which takes me to my question to my guy Bob Fox, the Bo and Bob meter. Where are we at right now? I mean, this is another episode where Bo-Katan is fucking. I know you had some issues with the actress kind of sneaking in, didn't want to catch that Bob Fox heat. At this point, you have to almost like thank her for her service when you see her.
Yeah, no, I think I do. The Bo-Katan hate meter, I think it was at 7 early on in the season. At this point, it's at like a 3, maybe a 2.
Yeah,
It's pretty much dwindled. It's a flame that is going out. We'll see if, but she has been calling out the cult activity, right? She's kind of back in a cult now, so it's like, I don't know, you know, is she a hypocrite? Yeah, but am I going to let it slide? Also, yeah.
This is also the point though where you're like, we're all good, and then it just flips on its head.
Exactly.
When that Darksaber comes out, Bo's going to be thinking some crazy shit, right? And
It's like a dog. Like when you take a treat out, like like her mind is immediately going to be like, oh my god, the Darksaber.
Yep. And then other Mandalorians are around, and you're going to be like, I wasn't hanging out with these nerds, and she like pushes all the religious people aside. So my antenna's still up on Bo, but she's still like on the sus list. She's now behind this Vizsla guy. She's behind the 3 baby dragons that I don't know what's going to happen with. She is on there, but she is pretty low on like our radars right now, to be fair. So we're a very fair and balanced podcast here when it comes to
we are. If nothing else, we are unbiased.
And Darth Jar Jar's real.
And Darth Jar Jar's real. Thank you to everyone for tuning in. Make sure you like the video down below, subscribe to the podcast, add to that count. I just saw the Jedi Fallen Order 2 trailer came out, so I got to get on that. I got to get on my streams, my video game streams. I'm going to talk to Barstool people about that this week on how to set me up in the office for that. And we will see you next week for another recap of The Mandalorian.
Bye-bye.